Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Husmann. We are here to review the Kansas race for the NASCAR Truck Series. That race took place on Saturday night. Your overall thoughts, Jay, on the Truck Series race this weekend?
Well, they said it was all about the 11 and who could beat him. I hate to say it, but I think the 11 beat themselves. You had a couple of good race drivers and teams up there competing, but I think really the 11 ended up beating themselves. When we get into the full rundown, we'll talk about where Corey Heim finished. And again, there's a reason he's the one everybody's talking about or trying to beat.
Yeah, that is true. And I remember us talking about it during the preview and saying, are we taking Corey Heim versus the rest of the Cup Series drivers that were racing in the Truck Series? So we'll see. Like you say, we'll kind of reveal more as we go along here. Now, Carson Hocevar did win the Craftsman Truck Series race at Kansas, but it was a pretty rugged race, to say the least. He did survive a last lap contact from the Ford of Lane Riggs bouncing off the outside wall before taking the checkered flag a half lap later to win Saturday night's Heart of Healthcare 200 at Kansas Speedway. For Carson, despite that last lap contact from Lane Riggs, it was his first win of the season and the first at Kansas. It was his fifth Truck Series career win. Now, Riggs finished runner-up after getting into the rear of Hocevar, sending them both sideways on that last lap. They both recovered and went on to finish the race. William Byron finished in third place. Then it was Corey Heim in fourth. Gio Ruggiero, the highest finishing rookie of the race, finished in fifth. Then Stuart Friesen, Brandon Jones, who was the pole sitter, Jake Garcia, Caden Honeycutt, and Grant Infinger were the rest of the top 10 finishers. Heim was the stage one winner. He also led 52 laps on the night. Carson Hocevar won stage two, but he led a race high of 75 laps of the 134 laps of the race. There were 8 lead changes among the 5 drivers and 7 cautions for 33 yellow flag laps. The average speed of this race was 110.829 miles per hour. Now, just to update, the number 34 of Riggs was disqualified for violating rule number 14.4.9A.A.3. Their bed cover material must be strong enough to prevent the cover from deflecting or sagging and must be sealed around the perimeter of all bed panels while the vehicle is in competition. Apparently, it was not. They disqualified him from the runner-up position, and he ended up finishing last. So that gives you an update to what we had said earlier, that he finished in second place. Let's go ahead and talk about the top 10 finishers, Jay.
Well, just so he gets credit there of, you read what the top 10 were and then took out Lane Riggs. So Daniel Hemrick was actually the 10th place finisher there. So give him his shout out, as he did end up in the top 10. The race
runner up.
Right. Yeah. Everybody else slid up from second on up. And William Byron about had it handed to him in his lap there in that last lap, as again both Carson Hocevar and Lane Riggs trucks turned, I don't know about 45 degrees, but they were at a pretty good angle. Talent to both, and a credit to both drivers. They did both straighten them out and finish 1-2 as they were running. I was happy to see that. I would have hated to have seen Carson Hocevar lose a race like that. I don't know. I wouldn't call it intentional, but I think Lane Riggs pushed a little too hard, slid up, clipped the rear of Hocevar, and I say they both ended up at an angle, and William Byron was coming.
Let me just say one thing before you move on. The fastest lap bonus did go to the race winner, Carson Hocevar, on lap number 58 he ran a lap at 31.081. So before you moved off of him, I wanted to make sure we mentioned.
All right, yeah, had a good race, and I'm glad to see that. Kansas was one of those. Again, he said he felt like he was owed one there, so he was very happy to get the race win there. Not just a race win, but to get Kansas. Talking about Corey Heim, who ended up now in third. I don't remember how many laps it was to go. They had to come back down pit road. Had a fast truck. Again, he led second highest in laps, led, I believe, at 2 times for 52 laps. They initially were saying whether or not he could get back in the top 10 and what a recovery that would be. Well, then all of a sudden it became top 5. And as it turned out, he got into 4th with the DQ, moves up to 3rd. Again, the strongest truck. I mean, there's no denying it. Overall, again, going from the back to the front and not plowing his way through, but racing his way through. Yes, a caution helped with some of that, but the talent and the strength of that team is just undeniable. Some good runs there, though, for the rookie, Giovanni Ruggiero. I think we're going to see more and more of that as the season progresses. Stuart Friesen, again, at one point thought he really had a truck that was going to contend. It fell off a little bit. He actually was running, I think, 3rd. I thought was where he was going to finish if he couldn't battle for the win. Ended up sliding all the way back to 6th, but got back to 5th after the DQ. Then you have another Cup driver, Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones. Take that back. Xfinity Series driver, not a Cup driver. Jake Garcia, Caden Honeycutt, Grant Enfinger, and Daniel Hemrick. Your regular truck series that are in contention. I'll put it that way. Ben Rhodes just outside the top 10. Having one of those years, it's not a typical Ben Rhodes year that we've seen.
So true, so true. Now, we told you about the top 10 drivers, top 11 drivers there, but there were some drivers that did have some issues during this race. Lane Riggs ended up in 31st position. Luke Baldwin had an accident that took him out of the race on lap 17. That was unfortunate. Nathan Bird had an overheating issue that took him out of the race on lap 72. Frankie Munoz, my heart sunk when I saw him spin again. Lap 94, he had a handling issue that took him out of the race. It was an electrical issue on lap 128 that took Tanner Gray out of the race. And I believe that was it. Most of the cars finished on the lead lap through Tony Breidinger in 20th place. The other drivers between 20th and 28th place, those 8 drivers finished a lap or more down. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen. We have drivers that have a good day and some other drivers that it's not quite the case.
Yeah, and I think that they put it politely there with handling. I think there was some bumping and banging, which created Frankie Munoz's handling issue. But again, you're right. Of he's in that category, just having a tough season. I believe he was top 10. Should have finished top 10, if not maybe top 5. I had a very strong truck and ended up in the garage area after going through the grass. I know that was part of it. There are a couple other drivers, though, that talking about of beating yourselves. Ty Majeski, they had an issue. Tyler Ankrum, as well as Rajah Caruth. I know got talked about a little bit throughout the broadcast as well of this point in the season, you really need to be minimizing to eliminating stops. And we'll talk more about this in the Cup Series, but it's tough to, even with the truck like Corey Heim, they got back to 3rd, but realistically dug themselves such a hole. They're lucky they got that far out of it.
Exactly. When you've got drivers the likes of Corey Heim that you're competing against, you have to minimize any errors or situations on the track and try to be there in the end to try to contend with him. Because when those mistakes happen, it can eliminate them very quickly from being a contender. And that's unfortunate, but it is kind of the reality of the situation that they're faced with here in the Truck Series.
Well, and I just think about this one as well as the week he had an electrical problem, and I think still finished like top 5 with that. I mean, if that's how good that team is, you think about how perfect you got to be to contend with and or beat them. So
Exactly.
they definitely need to step up right now. Got to give a big shout out to Spire Motorsports. When they took over for KBM, there was some question there with the drivers they brought in, the new drivers, younger crop of drivers. But they've maintained that same level that KBM was at with Toyota. So kudos to them. They're on point right now.
Yes, they are. And definitely congratulations to them. But one of the things that is the sign of a champion is exactly what you talked about, Jay. Somebody who has issues, but are able to overcome those issues and still have a good finish when the race is over. And that's exactly what Corey Heim did this weekend.
Most certainly. And it shows in the standings there. If we want to move over to the playoff standings right now, or the driver's standings, Corey Heim is your points leader, up 64 points on Chandler Smith. He's got 3 victories, 6 stage wins for a total of 21 playoff points. And that's really bad for the competition because if he wins the regular season championship, that's another 15, and he'd gain 5 over whoever's in second. He's going to start out with such a margin. It's going to be pretty much a ride to, not that he would, but can ride into the championship 4. But from there back, you got Chandler Smith with 1 win, 6 playoff points. Daniel Hemrick with 1 win, 5 playoff points. Tyler Ankrum, 1 win, 1 stage win, 6 playoff points. And then Grant Infinger, your first one, in 5th place with a stage win, but no victory, so only has 1 playoff point. Same for Ty Majeski. And Majeski, a little bit better than Ben Rhodes at this point, but is another one just not seeing his typical year. Hopefully he heats up here in the summer months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly do hope that is the case. Real tight there, though, when you think about the drivers in from Caden Honeycutt through the 10th place position. Those guys are pretty tight.
Yeah, Jake Garcia in 7th, Caden Honeycutt in 8th, Lane Riggs now in 9th, Ben Rhodes in 10th. Let's see, Grant Infinger is at 295. It's 10 points to Majeski at 285, 11 back to Garcia. Then you go 19 back to Honeycutt, and 8 back to Lane Riggs, and Ben Rhodes 3 behind him. And then they only have a 9-point gap over Stuart Friesen, who would be outside the cut line. And there you talk about, I think it was 43 points that were taken away from Lane Riggs. It's not just about this one race. By the DQ and losing those points, he went from being 50-some points to the good of the cut line, maybe battling for a win. I get that, but that's almost a full race padding, from the cut line. And now he's down there in the 9th spot, just 3 points away from being last, and then another 9 back as far as being outside looking in. So again, it's not worth that risk of one race, because it could cost you a shot at the championship.
Yeah, he went from 2nd to 31st. So that would be 29 points that he lost.
And that's one of those of, I don't want to get into it. I don't know all the details on that. You talked about the ruling as far as the bed cover. Those are pretty standard of, I'm not going to make any judgment, but if it's too soft, that means that, I think of dirt track racing, they do different things to try and soften up the tire, and then they get caught. Yeah. And I don't know if there's a liquid they used or if they put a different one on, but clearly, again, isn't something they're going to get away with. I mean, it blows my mind.
Yes, indeed. Okay. And some things, one of the things that I saw on social media today is NASCAR is bringing a tub of water to the racetrack, and they're going to start checking tires for pinholes, because people are doing things to gain an advantage by putting pinholes in the tire that allow them to deflate, giving them more grip on the track. So we talk about it all the time. Goodyear always gives a recommended amount of PSI that they want the tires to be set on. Teams are given the liberty to go outside of that, but the risk is getting a flat tire. So when you play around with that, there's a risk versus reward. And the risk is kind of high when you start playing those kind of games.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that when it comes to the Cup Series. I think that was a huge factor in the Cup Series race this weekend at Kansas. Again,
Yes.
It's not a tire problem. That's what you're doing with the tire, like you said, of the teams and what they're doing with them.
Yes. And I think a lot of people think it is a tire problem, but NASCAR or Goodyear gives the recommended PSI. When the drivers don't go within that recommendation, they're taking L's. So yeah, definitely something for us to talk about, but I just wanted to make sure we did mention that.
And that's some old school technology. You're talking about a tub of water to check for the leak or pinholes in it. I don't know if that will even show up though. I'm trying to think back. It was Richard Childress Racing when Ryan Newman was there. I think he was one of the ones involved in that, or was the driver. I don't want to say involved in, but the driver that was penalized. Because again, it doesn't show up until the tire is under pressure in race conditions. So I don't know in this case if the pinhole, because when it's just sitting there cold, that pinhole is going to close up. If the tub of water will work, but.
Well, I will say this is a special tub. It's not just it's not just an open tub. It's a special tub designed to catch what we're talking about.
Well, and it might be that they inflate a tire so far and then put it in the water to check it. Again, simulating the buildup of air pressure during race conditions. So they might simulate that and set it at a pressure that would equate to what it would be on the track under race conditions. And I'm sure they got smart people that are going to know the numbers they need to hit to show that. I just thought it was funny. Like I said, that's kind of old school. Put it in the tub.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to repost it on Twitter. So if you want to see it, it'll be in my feed. But that's the tub, and it's specially designed. Don't usually see the tire dunk tank, at least not out in the open. NASCAR, during several races throughout the year, will take tires and put them in the tank to check for pinholes, which would cause the tire to bleed air throughout a run, which can make the car go faster. So again, it's not a typical tub that we're talking about. It's one specially designed, and that was posted by Bob Pockris. So you can check his feed as well for that.
Big shout out there to Bob Pockris, because yeah, he's always on top of that. Man, I don't know what goes on in the NASCAR garage or within the series that he doesn't have information on or will get very shortly. Once in a while, you'll see him say, I'm not sure on that. Let me get back to you. But it's a short amount of time when he does.
Yes, he does. He's very good at getting the information that people are looking for. So anything else?
No, looking forward to, again, this was, I believe, race 2 or 3 of the 6-race stretch for the Truck Series. I know they're on track this weekend at North Wilkesboro prior to the All-Star race for the Cup Series. So we'll be previewing that at the end of the week. So looking forward to that.
Yes, definitely watch for more coming soon. We will have our NASCAR Hot Topic Sound Off tonight as well. That'll start at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern, and 7 o'clock Pacific Time. We'll talk about all the hottest topics in NASCAR with Chris Crichton joining us. And then also, we've got one more review to do for the NASCAR Cup Series. And then later in the week, as Jay referenced, we'll be doing all the previews for the races at North Wilkesboro Speedway, as well as Flat Rock Speedway with the ARCA Menard Series East. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We always appreciate you taking the time to hear what we have to say. And we enjoy doing this, so we hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy doing it. So anything more you want to say, Jay, before we sign off here?
No, I'll reiterate the thank you, though. I know we increased again a couple of subscribers doing the build up there. So we appreciate you watching and sharing, letting your buddies know. And like Sharon said, we absolutely enjoy it. So we look forward to hearing you or seeing you with the live feed tonight. If we can do the live feed, I know we got some technical issues, but we'll see what we can do about it. Potential. There you go. Potential.
So we'll see what happens, but do stay tuned because we will get it in. So with that, Jay, I guess we'll see you in the next video.
Absolutely.